Knowing who you are is essential to life and business, but many people are still struggling with their true identity. My name is Brinson. I'm the brand strategist. People call me when they're ready to stop hiding and start showing up with purpose. This podcast is where conversations meet real strategy, just the raw truth about what it takes to build a brand that aligns with who you are, not just what you do. On today's episode, I'm sitting down with branding expert Paige Elliott to talk about personal branding, corporate identity, and what it really means to be consistent online, offline, and behind closed doors. If you've ever asked yourself, what do people say about me when I leave the room? This episode is one you absolutely have to pay attention to. So, all right, if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button. I truly appreciate it. But for now, let's jump right into it. Enjoy the show.
Hey,
How you doing?
I am good. I'm good. I heard what you said earlier, talking about Paige with two T's. Tell the people how we got here today, Rod. Tell them how how much you
Yeah.
respect and love our partnership so much.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, let me apologize publicly for leaving one of those T's
Yeah,
off, right? Her name is Paige Elliott with two T's, and I knew that. And in my, excitement for getting this stuff out
yes,
here, I pushed the graphic to her like at 2 o'clock in the morning when she had one eye
you
open,
know,
and she was like, "Looks good." And then I put it out there.
you
So,
know. She was excited. It's okay. It's
but that's
okay.
okay though.
It's okay.
That is
Sometimes
okay. It
as a
is okay.
branding, expert, we still gotta double check. It's okay.
Not only do we have to double check, but and you and I had this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna be perfect
Oh,
all the time. And it's okay. Just like
mm-hmm.
me right now. I was supposed to be in my home studio, which has all the lights, the cameras, the bells, and the whistles,
Yep.
and I got caught in traffic.
Yep.
So I had to make a detour.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I had to go to my second house, you know what I mean, with the long fireplace in the back over
Yep.
here. You know what I'm saying? So I can stay warm out here in these streets.
Gotta be able to adapt. Something comes up, you gotta be able to shift. Everybody can't do that. So I
Period.
get
Now,
it.
to your point, I do want to kind of open things up and let people know about who you are, what it is you represent,
Hmm.
and I'll tell a little bit of a backstory how you and I connected, and then we'll jump into what it is you do and why you are what I consider a branding guru. So first and foremost, I got connected through Paige through a third party friend, and I got connected with her based on what I was doing for somebody else pro bono, right? So it was like 5 different degrees of separation. And then when I met Paige, it was to. You know that feeling when you got a big vision, but nobody around you can really trust to help you bring it to light? Yeah, been there. And that's exactly why I created the Build Your Brand community. It's not just another group, it's a space where smart, creative, purpose driven entrepreneurs come together to get real support, real strategy, and real growth. We're not here to hustle harder, we're here to build smarter. So if you've been trying to build your brand in a vacuum, and you're struggling, maybe it's time to stop doing it alone. There's a seat in the room waiting on you. Visit robbrinson.com for more information. And let's get back into this episode. Do some work for her corporate company. And we just developed a bond from that point, right? And so not only was she utilizing me and my services through my marketing agency to do some work, but I just felt like she knew what she was talking about in the branding space. And she was starting to see me do some things in the branding space. And so it just formed a
Mhm.
connection. So without further ado, Paige, give the people a little bit about yourself and why you're qualified to speak on this subject.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Like Rod said, just working with him at my corporation and just doing some branding projects. When you connect with people, let me just say this before I jump in. When you connect with people that have the same vision, the same type of mindset as you, and then you also can just collaborate and make dope content, you stick close to those people. So thank you for inviting me on here to talk today. My background, I went to school for broadcast journalism. I worked behind the scenes a little bit in the PA space. I shifted into public relations and did public relations with professional athletes, lifestyle clients, entrepreneurs, small businesses, and really enjoyed the PR space and media angle of things. And over time, as I was doing that, I was brought an opportunity around employer branding, which wasn't a thing in the world at the time. And it really was
Hmm.
about branding a company inside out. And so I built a team. I said yes. I built a team with that organization around employer branding, and at the same time still doing PR on the side. You got to keep your side hustle going. And yeah, so I've really been in this space for over 10 years. And I think when you wear different hats on different sides of it, you're able to learn the game and learn different sides of branding and communications and such. So 10 years of experience here now doing branding, employer branding, and personal branding. So I got a lot to say.
Okay. Period. Now, look, you
Period.
said so much in that. I, I, I mean, we could talk about what you just
Mhm.
said for the rest of this call, but I want to kind of pull out a piece and highlight a piece to get your opinion on it. And again, you and I had this sidebar, but when it comes to branding, I think people typically only think about that from a logo perspective or like color palettes and things of that nature, but it's
Mhm.
so much more than that. Like
Of
you brought
course.
up PR, right? You brought up, certain celebrities or athletes who have a certain image that they want to uphold.
Yep.
You brought up the corporate side of things. And I deal with primarily like people in their entrepreneurial space.
Hmm.
But then there's also people who just work a 9 to 5 who also have a brand to uphold. Let's talk about some of those differences. What would you say is like the main difference you noticed in the corporate space versus like dealing with the individual celebrity PR piece of branding?
Well, at the end of the day, branding is branding. Like the fundamentals are the same, no matter what space you're in. And so I would say
Hmm.
the core essence, and I'll give you a little backstory of just doing PR and working with athletes. At that time, public relations is all about really just positioning whoever your client is in the light, however they want to be seen, and positioning them in that way, in different media outlets and such. And so I was working with different athletes, and they would always want to push something out. They would want to push out content. They would want to
Mm,
sell something. They would want to be seen as a certain way, but they never knew like the messaging. They didn't really know like
mm,
who they were, like what they were trying to say. And so, at the end of the day, you're pushing out content, and you don't even know like your target audience. You don't even know really what you're trying to land. And I would always have, what makes you who you are. What makes you. Um, what are the core foundations of your brand? And so
hmm.
as I would go through different clients within PR and even internally, not having the messaging that you need to put out, different communications, I learned that the first step is that discovery phase, and
Mm,
identifying how you want to be seen. What are your strengths? How,
mm,
what sets you apart? What are your attributes that make people drawn to you? Like figuring that out first so that you can figure out where you're trying to go. And so I think that really shifted me from PR to like pushing a client out to like taking a step back and doing personal branding and really helping
mm.
the client like go through self-discovery, really. Like
Right. Oh my
figure you out.
God. So that's so big, like
Hmm.
self-discovery. Too often people want to put the cart before the horse,
All the
right? They
time.
want to jump into selling the product and selling the service and getting to the
Hmm.
money and, chasing the bag.
Yep.
But the reality is you're probably gonna fumble the bag if you do get it,
You will
if you're not
fumble.
careful on who you are, right?
Hmm.
Knowing that piece before you even go into that space.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of people go, well, I know who I am. Okay, that may be true
Hmm.
for some people, but there are pieces that you're missing. And then here's the biggest kick that I think a lot of people can take away. This would probably be, I'm gonna consider this the first gem that I dropped because you've
Come
been
on.
dropping about
Come on.
15 of them already.
Come on.
Um, who you are is not who you know yourself to be. Who you are is who people perceive you as.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
you could be out in public saying that you're this person, but when you go behind closed doors and you're treating your children bad, or you're not really
Hmm.
working on a relationship you have with your parents because of something that happened in your childhood,
Hmm.
or you're lying to your spouse about, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like you have to work on the person that you are in front of the camera and behind
Yep.
the camera in order to discover your true essence, your unique value, the thing that you bring to the table, the thing that could be literally unshatterable because you've perfected it or toned it in a way that when you get
Hmm.
out in this public space, they're not looking at you sideways going,
Hmm.
I don't think that's really who that person is.
Man. Yeah, so
So
that's
anyway.
key. No, it's key. It's really key that you'd be really surprised. I like to say when I'm talking about personal branding, like who I am at home is who I am in the office, is who I am
Mm-hmm.
at like in any setting. Like, you know what I mean? And your brand is all about
Mm-hmm.
consistency. It's all about like how do you make people feel when you leave the room?
Mm,
And I don't want to have to put on different faces and shift it up wherever I'm going. And so I think that is really key is like who are you and how do you want to be seen?
right.
And I think you and I were talking, and we were saying, I was talking about going through personal branding workshops and how I like to
Mm-hmm.
do this activity with people, and it's like you ask the people closest to you, like who do they think you are? Give me ask 10 people, um, and ask them what do you think of when you think about me? What
Mm,
strength comes to mind? What characteristic comes to mind, and like really see if that aligns with who you say you are. You'd be surprised.
mm. That's that's so
You'd be
good. Look, just last
surprised.
night on my monthly coaching call, I told my clients to write the first three words that they think of that describes who they are and what their business is all about.
Mm,
And they put some thought into it and they wrote their words. But I would like to see what the other side of that is compared to what you just said, where they would take that and then present it to people that truly know them
mhm,
to see how real it is, or if they have differences in what they perceive
mhm.
that person to
Just
be,
be ready.
whether it's family, friends, coworkers, or whoever, right?
Be ready for the feedback. That's all I'm gonna say. Because when I've had people do this, they have come back and said they cause issues in their family group chats. Siblings telling them that they're one way when they want to be seen as
Mm-hmm.
another. But I would say ask different people though. Ask different groups. Ask people in your work setting. Ask your family. Ask people in different settings, and just see if it aligns to who you say you are, or if it
Right.
aligns to where you are trying to go. And I think that's just a good
Right.
audit to do within
Man.
your brand.
Oh my
Mhm.
God. So good. Now, I want to hit on a few points that you just brought up. Like the reality is, and I said this before, people are building their brand whether they know it or not,
Mhm.
right? When you're working on your job and your boss asks you to stay extra hours or do this job that doesn't line up with your deliverables and your job description, and you say, "Oh, I can't do that. I got something," you're building that brand to say to that person, "I can't trust this person to do something outside of what they're being paid
Mhm.
for." Right now, that's not to say you got to go and take every job that comes to your desk,
Mhm.
right? There's a certain thing called boundaries that you need to, absolutely establish. However, when it comes time for that promotion and you get overlooked, you shouldn't be sitting there wondering why it happened if you're not
Mhm.
willing to go above and beyond to make some of those things happen.
Yes.
Now, I said that for a reason. There are some people that may be watching this live or may catch the replay that are thinking, well, what does Brandon have to do with me? I don't plan on being an entrepreneur. Well, it has everything to do with whatever you're trying to drive,
Mhm.
right? You are working on your branding, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a corporation, whether you don't plan on working on any of your businesses and just want to do 9 to 5,
Mhm.
right? So, what advice would you give to the person that's listening to this who has a small business and they want to focus on the product or the service? They don't really want to go through all the inner work necessary to do the
Mhm.
discovery about who they are in order to get to that next level.
I would tell you that it might be painful. It might take time to go through that
Mm,
discovery phase, but it is essential. Like it is literally
mm,
like the bread and butter. If you can take that time and really go through that piece, because at the end of the day, it's going to set the foundation for everything you do. Every decision
mm,
that you make, every project that you take on,
mm,
every opportunity that comes to you, anything you pitch
mm,
yourself for, if you take the time to do that self discovery and figure out like, look, this is my foundation and everything from this point on has to make sense and align to who I am and what my brand is, then everything will just align up and be intentional from there. And so that self discovery, a lot of times, again, it's my favorite part, actually, going through
yeah,
personal
yeah.
branding, because you see a client have that aha moment, like
Mm,
ooh, like I didn't even think of it like that. And
right.
sometimes you just got to say it out loud. But I just think that that self discovery phase is definitely key.
It's the beginning,
It's the
right? It's the
beginning.
beginning of all
Hmm.
of it. And to your point, you will have adversities that come your way
Hmm.
that might take you off your course if you don't know who you truly are. whose you are and what it is you're trying to accomplish,
Ooh,
right?
ooh.
But then on
Just put
top
that
of
in there.
that, I did, and I'm gonna continue
Come on.
because that's a part of my brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, like, here's the thing that I found lately, especially, and I'm just being transparent. Like, I'm full-time entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is what I'm doing. I know through and through who I am. I've done that discovery phase. I know what my path is about. God has literally laid it out for me, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
walking down it, right? But during that time, there are temptations, there are tests and trials, there are things that make you say, I don't know if this is the thing I should be doing. Or here's this other sparkly gold, glittery looking opportunity over here that has absolutely nothing to do with my purpose and my path, but it
Mm-hmm.
looks good. It smells good. I'm sure it'll feed me. I'm sure I can make some money doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should venture out over here. If you're not steadfast in who you are and what your brand is all about, by doing that initial discovery with somebody who knows how to guide you in that,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get detoured
Mm-hmm.
immediately. As soon as you face hard weather,
Mm-hmm.
bad weather, whatever the case may be, or as soon as another opportunity, I had an opportunity come up recently where I could have been a fractional CMO for a really big influencer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were all in my face, like, let's do it. And I'm like, that check looks
Mm-hmm.
amazing right now. But you know what? I'm not here to work for you in that
Mm-mm.
capacity. That's not, I
Mm-mm.
know my brand, and that's not it.
Nope.
So,
Nope.
I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. The reality is you have to discover who you are first by doing the personal branding work. Like you said, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's an audit, whether it's getting with a coach, whether it's joining a community, taking a course. A lot of people get fearful about those
Yeah.
pieces, right? Because it's oversaturated oversaturated in today's social media world,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera. What would you say to that person who's on the fence, right? They find out about Paige and what she has to offer, and she's talking about doing the inner work in her personal branding piece, right? But now they're like, uh, I think my money was probably better suited if I go
Mm-hmm.
out here and purchase a website or follow this path over here that I've seen somebody else do. What would you say to that person that's skeptical?
Put your website together to go where? Like where?
Mm,
Like where are you going? What message are you putting out? Who are you reaching? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm telling you this because on photo shoots, I spent so much money on branding. I spent so much money on just like the look and the feel, and you know what I mean, and just jumping into things. I've done videos and promos, and I had no
mm-hmm.
core essence of what I was trying to do. I've been through grad school and all these different things where I've learned and spent so much money on trying to figure this thing out. So I would tell you to save your money and save your
Oof.
time and save your coins
Uh,
by being able to like tap into this knowledge, whether you join in a community, whether you're on Instagram, TikTok. Like there's all these free gems. I'm not saying come to what I have or you have to offer. I'm saying
right.
like do the first phase, whatever that looks like for you. Do
Mm-hmm.
that first phase, because you're just gonna set yourself up for success at the end of the day.
Mm, that's so good. And I like how you didn't like position it like you have to get with somebody specific
Mhm.
or you have to buy this thing in order to do it. There's a plethora of information out here on the internet,
Mhm.
right? But here's the thing I like to say, and this is what my focus has been, not only for myself, right?
Mhm.
Because I didn't get here by just learning all this information in a book or on the internet. I also learned by experience. I also learned by having a mentor. I also learned by taking some of these courses and things that I'm talking about, joining communities, etc. It's a way to do things and it's a way to not do things.
Mhm.
But this is not about right or wrong. This is more so about doing it fast or doing it more efficiently,
Yeah.
right? Or
Mhm.
doing it the long way. So here's what I'm saying by that. I think that you can learn just about anything you want about anything by getting on your phone or computer and researching,
Mhm.
right? But that thing that you learn might take you 11 hours of figuring out when you could have come to Paige and said, "Hey, I'm trying to figure this thing out." And Paige said, "Oh, I know exactly how to do that," and
Mhm.
spend 3 minutes with you, and now you have that download of that
Mhm.
information, right? And so that is the key to me is getting with somebody who's more advanced than you in that space to help guide you. They don't have to be your one-stop shop for everything.
Mhm.
But before you go out and put $3,000 into this one venture that you want to do, talk to somebody who's done something like that first to get their advice so that you can avoid some of those pitfalls. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's a bigger part about your personal brand and knowing how to build it is navigating the course based off of what somebody else has done. That's to me the fastest way to
Mm-hmm.
learn. So,
Nope, I'm in agreement. I literally like this new season of life is all literally about partnerships. Like, let's work smarter, not
mm,
harder. I'm not here. I don't win an award for saying I know it all. You know, um,
right.
I, I specialize in what I specialize in, and I build a team at the end of the
Mm.
day for everything else. And I'm really learning that as I'm going through things and like learning how to delegate and to even build my own brand as we grow. And so.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that because I told you I was going to challenge you on that anyway.
Here we go. Go
What
ahead,
so
Rod. Let's get into
so
it.
so so let the people know, like, you have your own personal brand that you need to build,
Mm-hmm.
that you have built. You've already begun establishing it, right? Like you said, when
Mm-hmm.
you go to work, you're being yourself.
Yep.
When you go home, you're being the same person.
Mm-hmm.
But what is this battle that you got going on with your own brand and what it is you do for a living? What would you
Ooh.
kind of label that as or define that as?
Look, I'm Paige at work and I'm Paige, outside of work. So it's not two different brands, but it's a balance. I'm at work
Mm.
and I'm using my job to grow and build
Mm.
my skill set at the end of the day.
Okay.
And I know everybody doesn't have this opportunity. So let me start by recognizing that like sometimes you work a job, a 9 to 5 that does not relate to where you're trying to go. So I recognize
Hmm.
that. So if you have the opportunity to find a leadership opportunity or to lead a project where you are, or to do like a stretch project somewhere in your organization, you know what I mean? Even if it doesn't align to the industry you want to work at or whatever, like I encourage you to do that. In my role, I'm able to work on branding. I'm able to build my corp. So I do employer branding, and I
Uh-huh.
literally build my company from the inside out. Storytelling,
Mm.
finding out the values, who we are, everything that I do in personal branding, I'm able to do in the employer space, and I'm able to tell the stories about the company culture. And my target audience is people who are looking to come work here. And that's how
Mm.
amazing God is. I'm going to throw that in there because He allowed
Okay.
me to be in this space and then be able to align it to who I am outside of work, where I work
Mm.
on building brands from the inside out. I mean, come on, you can't even
Mm.
align that any better. And so
Yeah, that's straight up God. Keep
that
going.
literally like and it really everything I learn internally, I'm able to use it in some capacity as I'm building my own brand, as I'm working with personal branding and building clients out. But it is a balance. However, I'm very transparent about it, like working
Hmm.
with a company, like, look, I got this side business, this is what I do, is it okay? And that was something I actually came into my interview with when I was working. I said, this is what I do, and they were okay with it. So
Mm.
I never shied away from pushing my own personal brand on LinkedIn or internally, because as long as it wasn't a conflict of interest, it was
And
okay
it
for my
didn't matter.
company. But you
Right.
got to check with your company first. That I always tell people that first. Don't say Paige told you, because I ain't trying to get you fired. But I think that's important for me to be who I am inside the company and outside the company, and I make sure I stay consistent with that.
And you bring up a great point because everybody doesn't have the luxury of, proudly proclaiming their business
Mhm.
or their passion or their purpose on their professional LinkedIn page and things
Mhm.
of that nature. I think it's important to find a way to navigate those waters that won't get you fired, right?
Don't lose your
Um,
job,
bu-
folks. Don't lose your job.
and it's primarily because you either didn't read the company, hand guides and all of that stuff that says you can't do that, or you got some hater in upper
Mhm.
management that just doesn't want to see you win, right? And so now they're mad that you have your own thing going on. So you definitely have to navigate that in a delicate
Mhm.
manner. But here's my suggestion to anybody that finds themselves in a compromising position where you really want to branch out and do your own thing,
Mhm.
but you also have your main source of income over here. Oh, I'm sorry, your main resource of income
Mhm.
over here, because it's only one source. of
Ooh.
income, and that's God, right? But at the end of the day, this main resource of income that you're utilizing to fuel this thing that you care about greatly, you have to find a way to navigate those waters. And my
Mhm.
recommendation to you as it relates to building your personal brand in or out of corporate America or the government or whatever other sector you work in is to begin finding ways, as you just
Mhm.
mentioned it, that you can get on a particular project to exercise that, right? I think about my story. I was in finance for
Mhm.
years. I worked at Bank of America and I was just doing what I needed to do to pay bills,
Mhm.
right? But every time we had a team building exercise, I found myself painting, cutting sheets of paper, drawing, building stuff, doing video edits,
Mhm.
and all type of stuff that I had no clue would line up to where I would be 10, 15 years down the road.
Mhm.
But I knew that I cared about it, and I knew that people in the office recognized me for being able to do those things. I just didn't put two and two together. So eventually,
Mhm.
once people started recognizing for me, that's how my business got born. Somebody asked me to do a Halloween flyer because they knew I could do that artsy creative stuff,
Mhm.
and I did it for free. And then that turned into word of mouth. And before you know it, five people were coming to me at the same time. And I'm like, y'all gonna
Y-
have to pay me for this.
No,
This ain't free. Okay.
but you got to
And
put
I
it out
said,
there.
oh,
It took you putting yourself
right.
out there. It literally took you putting yourself out there and like exposing what you do. And that's the biggest thing is like a lot of people personal branding is uncomfortable for a lot of people because they don't want to toot their own horn. And I get it.
Mm,
Like they don't want to talk about themselves, what they're good at, like you're like I don't want to, you might not want to put the content out because you're scared of what the job's going to say, but
mm,
how do people know what to reach out to you for if they don't know what you do? Like, you
that
know what I
part.
mean? And so you have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to like speak in rooms when you have an opportunity. You have to be a thought
Mm.
leader at the end of the day and whatever it is your niche is. And so I definitely encourage that because I mean, if you want someone to come knock on your door, it's like you have to put that stuff out there. And I leverage LinkedIn. So in the corporate space, I'm like a huge advocate for like showing your personal brand.
So, what's really holding your business back? Can I be honest with you? Sometimes the biggest reason your brand isn't growing is the one that you haven't seen. I do one on one consultations with business owners all the time who come in thinking that they have a marketing problem, only to discover it's actually a brand clarity issue or something deep beneath the curtains of their business, right? It could be a customer journey gap, it could be a number of things. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels, trying to figure it out on your own, and actually figure out what's not working, let's talk. One session, real answers, no gimmicks. You can book a consultation with me directly at rodbrinson.com. Let's get back to this episode, but I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
On LinkedIn and like just showing who
Mm-hmm.
you are even outside of the office because I promise you I have walked in so many doors by posting stories and who I am and my brand on
Mm.
LinkedIn. I have sat at the table with my CEOs, been in conversations to make decisions. Been asked to speak and do a toast with my CEO within 2 months of being at an organization just because the post on LinkedIn and
A
they saw me
post.
consistently posting about
Mm.
my brand and personal branding and things like literally just posting about what I do, what I worked on, and they're like, "Oh, I know you from
Mm.
LinkedIn. Oh, I know you from
Right.
your post. Oh, I love your stories." And I'm like, "You,
I
you
don't even
never
know
know
you.
to you never know to reach, but you have to put it out there. Like you are the brand of you.
Mm. Mm.
You got to own that. Like, and that's hard for some people, you know."
You just said something that resonated with me. Well, you said several things, but I want to hone in on this for anybody that's listening. Like, this is so key. You said you have to expose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's so deep. But I'm gonna just narrow it down to what my mentor told me years ago. I found myself in a position where I felt like I was being cheated out of some money in my role at my job. And I mean, we went to war, me and my manager, about this thing. It went all the way up to the top. And by the end of it, I ended up winning the argument and getting my money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my manager at that time told me, Rod, whether you know it or not, you're ruining your brand at this company. And I mean, that stuck with me because I was frustrated. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. You tried to take my money and I fought for it. So you could call it ruining my brand if you want.
Mm-hmm.
My kids gonna eat some food tonight. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Period.
But I was so frustrated and felt some kind of way that I told one of my old bosses that I needed a mentor. And so she connected me with this guy and we had a conversation. We had one conversation page. It was
Mm-hmm.
2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the mentorship I needed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he said something so potent to me, and I want to share it with you guys tonight. He said, no matter what situation you find yourself in, you have to manage your pie, your PIE. Your P is your performance, your I is your image, and your E is your
Mm-hmm.
exposure. He said, you have to do all three simultaneously. If you have the performance and you have the right image, but you don't have the exposure, you're limited in
Mm-hmm.
what you can do. And then he
Mm-hmm.
went around the pie, right? He said, if you have the exposure and you have the performance, but your image is weak, or people see you in one way that you're really not, or they think
Mm-hmm.
about you and they say, oh, he's not a hard worker, or whatever it might be. He said, you're going to be limited. You're not going to be able to get where you're going. He said, if you manage your pie accordingly, your P, your I, and your E at all times, he was like, your brand is going to continue to shine and grow and
Mm-hmm.
develop to the point where you're not only invaluable,
Mm-hmm.
right? But also you're to the point where people know who you are. When they think about opportunities, they're going to think about you. And I'll say this last piece and I'll pause because I think it's important. When I made my uh, exodus, my escape from corporate into full-time entrepreneurship, I had began planting those same
Mm-hmm.
seeds. So you're blessed to be in a position where you're working in corporate in branding, and that's what you also have a passion for on the side. With me, I was in sales and customer success, relationships and stuff like that. So it was more so like really corporate software type stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't find a way to utilize my marketing skills in that role
Mm-hmm.
until I had a conversation with an executive sponsor who said, hey, instead of waiting for a marketing position to open up, why don't you go ahead and start utilizing those skills in your current role? And I was like, oh, I never thought about
Mm-hmm.
that.
That
So
was a good one.
I started putting presentations
Mm-hmm.
together. I started using my video editing skills, all the same things that I was already passionate about. Every chance I got, whether it was in front of a customer or whether it was internal, I was utilizing those marketing skills. Now, guess what? I left the company, and 6, 7 months later, that company ended up hiring my agency to do some marketing
Come
work.
on, come
Okay.
on. If
Okay.
you didn't
But
put your stamp down and put the word out there, that's a word. Did y'all catch that, Jim? I hope y'all
exactly,
caught that because
exactly.
that's crazy.
I
That
exposed
you've
it.
exposed
To your
it,
point, I made it clear this is who I am, this is what I do. And it turned into a whole nother opportunity for me.
man.
So,
That's great. That's great.
yeah.
Literally, you have to put yourself out there. Like no one's gonna drive your ship but you at the end of the day,
Mm,
and you have to be able to jump in there and really steer where you want to go and be intentional with it. And I think that's the biggest beauty in building your personal brand. It's going to take time and it's not going to happen overnight, but you navigate it where you're going. You know what I'm saying? It might be different in different
yeah.
seasons, like, but your essence and your foundation of who you are should stay the same. Like,
Yeah.
I'm authentic, I'm this, I'm the, whatever those key elements are of your brand, and
Hmm.
then you navigate it to whatever room you're going into. And
But this is very important that you bring that
mhm,
up, right? Because it's not about saying you're this person, it's about becoming this person,
mhm,
right? Now you don't have to try to put it on when the time
mm,
shows up. It's just who you are,
yep,
right? Yeah, if you say, I'm just making an example. If you say, hey, I'm the greatest salesperson in the world. I can teach you how to sell. Okay, well, that should be in you. That should not be
mhm,
on you, right? That has to be something that is a part of your system so that it is just naturally in you. Now, if it's not in you, you can develop it,
yeah,
right? But don't go out here just broadcasting to the world that you're this person, because now you're just advertising that you're mediocre,
mhm,
right? You need to
mhm.
become that expert, become that person, and then when you go out to the world, they'll be able to see it, smell it, feel it, and taste it.
I like to. That's so good. I like to say, like, when you think about branding, like, think about whatever your favorite brand is. Everybody,
It kind of froze up.
oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you good. Keep going.
Okay. I'm like, think about whatever brand you love, right? And then ask yourself
Hmm.
why. And I'm
Mm.
gonna go and think about mine. Like, mine is Nike. I love
Okay.
Nike. I love Nike. And you asked me why. I love how they make me feel. I love the storytelling. I can
Mm,
relate to the branding and the messaging that they put out. The ads they put out are very
mhm,
like real life. They're touching. I feel like I'm a part of their brand, and it motivates me to go get some new shoes if I want to go work out, go get
mm,
some new clothes. I feel good when I put it on. And I'm like, that's how your brand should make other people feel when you're in the room. It's like, how do you
mm.
make people feel when they're associated with you, when they're around you, and does that align with who you say you are? And
Right.
so,
Like my good friend Michelle said in the chat, emotional connection.
yep,
That's the reason why
yep,
Nike is something that stands out for you. When you think about it, it's based off how they make
yeah,
you feel. And I want everybody to type yours in the chat. Like what brand resonates with you when you think about a brand that makes you feel good?
mhm,
What brand is that jumps out to you? I'm gonna jump on your train page and say for me it's
okay.
Apple. Like when I open that box up and I gotta
Ooh,
peel all those little
mm-hmm,
white things off, it's
mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
it just
All them
does
layers with two
something.
cords, I know. Ain't even got no box. Don't even got no charging port.
Right. I don't know
So
what's
sick.
happening over here no more. They done changed all my imports. But guess what? I still got an iPhone. I
Right.
still got Apple AirPods in my, I still got a Mac,
Yep.
and I'm gonna continue to work with Apple because of how they make
Yep.
me feel, or more so the experience that I get with them from the beginning of walking in that door
Yep.
to when I'm actually utilizing the functionality of the device that they
Yep.
created. So, what does your brand say about you when you're not in the room?
Yep.
What do people feel about this business or this product or this service or this passion and this thing that you care about so deeply? What are they saying about it when you're long gone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That is key. And figuring out how to mold that to the point where you minimize the negative talk, you minimize the bad experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and you maximize the emotional connection and the feeling that they get from your product or service.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're talking, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
not just about fluff and surface level things, right, Paige? Like
Mm-mm.
that's why it's called personal branding.
And people will
It's
feel
personal,
that. People will
right?
feel if your brand is not authentic. There's nothing like, and I can think about this as a personal brand as well as like at a company. There's nothing like, and we probably can all say we've been a part of it. A company on their website saying that they believe in whatever, all these
Hmm.
things and saying they're one way, and then you get inside and that company culture is not what they said they
Hmm.
they are. Like you're
Yep.
like, you said you were all this. Look, you said you were all diverse and you had all this going on. I got inside, it did
Totally
not look like
different.
that. It
Where's the
felt different.
diversity?
It looked different, and so people can feel it, right? And so
Hmm.
you have to be real with your brand, your personal brand, and your company brand. Your If you have a small business, whatever it is, and it's okay to show where you're at and where you're going. You have to like find that middle ground, but don't put the fake stuff out because people won't. They'll call you out,
Are they going? Yeah, and they gonna feel it. You can
for
lie
sure.
with your words all day, but your energy can't lie.
Come on,
Your energy
come on,
is gonna tell the truth every single time.
absolutely.
And that's why people say, I just wasn't feeling it. Well, that's because it was something false there,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Or it's just something that I don't know. Like whenever you're in that space and you're thinking about it from the person that's behind the brand
Mm-hmm.
and questioning whether or not you want to work with them,
Mm-hmm.
it's because there's something off. And
Mm-hmm.
typically, you have to fix that before you start going into business. And if you're already into business, then you need to fix it along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But you hit on something I wanted to kind of, jump back into, and I want the people on the call to really be able to benefit from this. Um, when you go to market, when you present yourself to somebody, like don't wait until somebody calls you out to do right by them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait until the cameras come on to smile, right? You have to begin to fix whatever you're doing in front of people behind closed
Mm-hmm.
doors. That is going to be the true difference maker in you hitting your bottom line, you growing your revenue, you getting to the next level, becoming a millionaire, and all these other fancy things that you hear on the TV screen.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, and I just aged myself to my TV screen. Look, on
No
these
comment.
iPhones, on these Instagram lives,
Antennas.
okay?
No comment.
Um, the true work happens when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
The true work happens when like and I'm just gonna say this is a live, I don't care, I'm a transparent guy, it's just my brand, right? um as a web designer, I have the keys to the kingdom. I got the back end. I can see all type of stuff, right? When relationships go sour with people that I have control of their website on, the flesh in me has this mindset of, I don't, well, I have the keys. So, it's that, right? And as soon as it creeps up, I allow my spirit man to push that down. And I say, you know what? I'm a man of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if this relationship didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
From a business perspective, I don't care if I got the keys to all of their kingdoms. I'm not going to do anything that would jeopardize my character,
Mm-hmm.
period. Whether they did me wrong or not, whether we are still in business or
Mm-hmm.
not. And that, my friends, is how you maintain doing business properly and you continue to grow. You do right by people, whether they know about it or whether they
Mm-hmm.
don't,
Yeah.
and that's a part of my personal brand. So, but I fixed that before I got into business, to the point where it's like, you shouldn't ever have a situation where somebody feels like the person that they're dealing with is shady or shisty or they're just out to get your money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's a part of your personal brand too. So what are your thoughts on that piece?
No, I just think trust is everything at the end of the day. Like, you think about all these influencers today, beauty influencers or whatever. It's like you buy products from people that you trust, who you connect
Mm,
with. And so people have to connect with you and trust you. And it does come down to your integrity, and not being a part of things just for money or what's in right now or whatever. Like, that skinny tea, like, is it really going to do that for me? Or is it just a good check?
mm,
Like, I need to know
mm,
what is real or what's not. And so your integrity is definitely everything. And are
mm,
you living what you say? And so I think like kind of like shifting gears a little bit, but I feel
mm,
like a lot of people, the average person, they may want to do, work on their personal brand, or they might have an idea or something that's put in their heart. They don't
mm,
know where to start, right?
mm.
They don't know where to start. I feel like this is the conversation I have all the time. It's like, I just don't
Yeah.
know. It's like, I want to do this. I don't know. But like, where do I start? And so, I think it really is, we talked about the self-discovery, but it's like really just taking that seat back and saying like, I had to give a gem. But it's like, what are you good at?
Mm,
What do people know you by? What are your strengths? What do people constantly come to you for to do? You know,
mm.
like what are those things that like make you excited when you're
Okay.
doing them? You know,
That
like
matters.
what are those things that make you tick? And like starting there, because everybody has a
Mm,
story, and some people, especially the introverts or the quiet ones or people that usually like to be behind the scenes, they don't like to talk about themselves or feel like they don't have anything to bring to the table. But it's like
mm.
when you take a deeper dive into yourself and figure out those things, there's so much there. um
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a part of
it's
your
your
why, right?
why.
It's like, why am I doing this? And
Hmm.
figuring that out beforehand,
Hmm.
like I said, when the going gets
Hmm.
tough, right? Because it will.
Hmm.
When the bills are due and the money ain't flowing, when you find yourself 10 miles down the road and
Hmm.
this thing that you say you really wanted is heavy and you got to carry it,
Hmm.
that why is what's going to keep you doing it. That why is what's going to push you over that mountain that's in
Hmm.
front of you, right? And so that's why it's important to know that. So I totally agree.
Yeah, no, it's definitely key. You got to go back to that, and once you figure all that out, I kind of shifted gears a little bit, but it helps you
You good?
figure out your main brand elements, your foundation of who you are,
Mm.
and so that you can stay aligned and stay true to those things, and you're not just detouring and doing a bunch of stuff.
Mm. A
That's
lot of people, you know, take a lot of pride in saying they're serial entrepreneur or they're, jack of all trades, master of none. But in this society where niching down is almost like the thing that everybody's trying to do, I think that's what gets people caught up in this tunnel vision of, I don't know where to start and I don't know what the next step is, or I don't know how to get, I see where I want to go. I just don't know how to get there, right? It's because you got too many things on your mind. You're trying to do it all in a situation where people are, like somebody said in the chat, subject matter expert. They're looking for people who
yep,
are SMEs, right?
yep.
Or people that have experience or knowledge in a particular area. So I was in a room recently. It was like 50 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Nehemiah Davis had orchestrated it or whatever. And, we was in there talking business and he was giving people the floor to explain who they are and what they do This one guy gets the floor's attention, and Paige, he starts going all around the world. I'm a real estate agent. I own this. I do marketing. I mean, he named 16 things in 30 seconds.
Mhm.
And I mean, you would literally be floored at how many people jumped in to tell him, no, don't do that, especially in a room like this, right? But here's the reality. The reason that doesn't work is because people don't want somebody that can do everything.
Mhm.
I will, and this is no knock against anybody's restaurant, right? But I will never go to a Mexican restaurant and order Italian food. It just doesn't make any sense, because while they might be able to make it, and while it might not be bad, and while I might get satisfied, that's not what they
Right.
specialize in. I'm gonna go
Right.
to a Mexican restaurant to get Mexican
Mhm.
food, you know,
Mhm.
and people do your business the same way.
Mhm.
So if you're all over the place,
Mhm.
just understand you're not gonna really reach the market that you're
Mhm.
trying to reach, because they need to know who you are. And the only way they can know that
Mhm.
is if you know who you are.
And that's the process. Let me just say that, and I'm saying that because I've been there, and trying to. I
Mm,
actually just landed there for real, because I am that person that has tried a million different things. They've always kind of been in the same avenue, but like I'm that person
mm-hmm.
who's like, I can do it. I can do it. I'll
Yep.
figure it out. I can do that. And so when I do a brand assessment, I look at my strengths and my weaknesses, and my weakness is I say yes to too many things. Like I
Mm,
needed to be able to say yes to only things that align to get me to where I'm going, which is why figuring out your foundation is so important, so that I'm staying aligned. But like saying yes to too many things means I'm putting 10% in every bucket.
mm,
If I'm putting
mm.
10% in every bucket, I'm never becoming this thought leader, this brand expert, this person who I say I am, or I'm not able to
Wow.
perfect my craft in the speed that I know that I can, because
Mm,
I'm spread thin. And
mm.
it's a process to
That is
get there.
good.
It's just
That is so
literally
good.
it's a process. I mean, shoot, I, listen, it's hard not saying yes to everything, and then you start to, it goes deeper. Like you say yes to a million things, you got so much on your plate. Now you're not putting 100% in. Now you're starting to beat yourself up because you didn't finish this deadline, and whatever. And it's
Mhm.
like, you did that because you didn't put some boundaries down. And so
Mm.
like I said, I'm still navigating that space. I'm transparent with that, because I do feel like I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. However,
Okay.
I feel like you have to be able to be intentional.
Now,
And
let's talk about that, right? You can do all things,
Mhm.
right?
If you're out here posting consistently, showing up on video, following all the rules, and still wondering why your brand isn't breaking through, it's not you. It's your strategy, or the lack thereof. At Brinson Designs, we don't just make things look pretty. We build full spectrum brand ecosystems that actually move people to action. We work with founders who are tired of piecing it together and ready to get serious about their visibility, their messaging, their social media, their website, and their impact. If that's you, we should talk. Not because you need another agency, not because I need you as a customer, but because you're finally ready to stop guessing. Visit brinsondesigns.com for more. Okay, back to the episode.
But to your point, trying to do all things is going to take you back from what it is you're trying to ultimately do, your purpose, right? And
Mhm.
like you said, you spread yourself thin, you get burnt out, all of those
Yes.
things. Let's shift gears just a little bit more as we, get closer and closer to this. Number one, I got a question in the chat I want to pull out. So should you try everything and see what sticks? I'll start there, Paige, and I want you to chime in on it as well. I would not advise anybody to try everything and see what sticks. I would advise any and everybody to sit with their thoughts, to pray about it if you are a believer, to talk to somebody who is already doing business to find out some of the pitfalls to avoid, right? To get with some sort of coach or consultant or strategist or whoever that can guide you on whatever it is you're thinking about. But spend some time and wrestle with that piece before you go trying a lot of things, if you haven't already tried some
Mhm.
things. Because it's not about making money and having financial freedom if you're just going to be mentally
Mhm.
imprisoned, right?
Mhm.
That's why rich people are jumping off buildings when their stocks fall out, or people driving Bugattis but they crying. I think it's a song about that or something. You know what I mean?
Don't
But
don't don't show
here,
your age and all the things. But go ahead.
I said I think I don't really know, but here's my point.
Mhm,
If it's not centered in your purpose, if it's not centered in something you're passionate
mhm.
about, then it doesn't matter how much money you make. You're not gonna really be happy about it. So that's my answer to that question.
I mean, I would say I won't say that I purposely chose to do things to figure out if I like it or not. I would say that's just where things landed, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. I said I went to school for sports broadcasting. My dream was to be a sports broadcaster. Somehow I ended up doing behind the scenes in PR. I'm great at it, but it's not where I wanted to be. I shifted over. I've done sales, I've done marketing, I've shifted. It's like y- you're something in you, whatever, again, whatever, however you classify, something will push you when it's time to go, when you've learned what you needed to learn at that season to go to the next piece. And so I feel like my life has been aligned in that way, that I've learned everything has happened for a reason, and I've learned now. I feel like I got a full well-rounded palette of experience,
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't been me just doing random things. Everything has been in alignment, um, but I can tell you what I don't like really well, but based off of the experiences that I've went through, and I can tell you no real quick that I'm not doing certain things that don't align. So I think those experiences are just as important as saying yes and finding your thing. But once you find it, for me, it was like it brought me back to what I was told 10 years ago of where I was supposed to be anyway. So, I felt like I'm doing now what I was told I was supposed to do, is what I'm saying. Where I'm going is where I knew I was supposed to be, but I went on my own little detour and figured things out. And I feel like, that's different for everybody, but I'm, like I said, I'm well rounded. I have the skill set now. I feel like God took me on those different journeys to figure things out. And now I landed where I feel 100% confident in where I'm going next,
Let's
based off of
let's
that
talk about that in
experience.
just a little bit,
Yep.
Paige. I know that you're working in branding for another entity, but I know you also have a passion and a purpose that's outside of that. So, there are a lot of people probably on this live who work a job, right? And that's not really something that makes them happy. It's not something that drives them, but it is something that's paying the bills. So how are you personally navigating those waters where you feel compelled internally to make a turn towards this thing that you're more passionate about, to do it for
Hmm.
yourself rather than doing it for this company? How are you utilizing those resources in order to get you more connected to the source so that you can do the thing that you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody, but for me, I've been in this space. I've actually got comfortable in the corporate space for a
Mm,
little bit, if I'm being transparent, because I'm money was well. I'm learning and growing. I'm doing something that I enjoy, so it's not something that's like, I've been in the call centers and different things where it's like I got to get up out of here, or so I know what it felt like to do things that I didn't want to do. I'm aligned, but it took me to realize, like, okay, but when you have that burning, like, what's next inside of you, or you're called for more, it doesn't let you get comfortable.
mhm,
And so I'm in a season. I just wrote an article recently on LinkedIn for International Women's Day. It's called "The Grace in the Gray," but it's like that feeling of, like, I'm doing well where I'm at. My job is doing well, like everything is doing well, but I know that there's so much more inside of me. And so how do I navigate that gray area of
mm,
my life? And I think that's where I'm at. I'm navigating, I'm being intentional at work. I'm learning, I'm taking every stretch opportunity.
mm,
I've identified my weaknesses, and I'm trying to take on more trainings or more projects or more things that are going to help me grow. But in the back of my mind, I know where I'm going. And I know that
mhm,
it's whatever I do is going to be building me for what I'm trying to do outside of that. I've also been blessed with the opportunity to, like, tell my manager where I'm trying to go. And I'm not telling everybody to do that. You
right.
got to feel that for yourself. But, like, I'm at a place where it's like, look, this is what I'm trying to build and this is what I'm trying to do. So any opportunity that has this involved in it, please put me in it, because I'm trying to build that skill set, and I'm trying to, you know, eventually be on my own to do all of these things. And so If you feel that you have that type of opportunity to be transparent like that, you know, you told me you put yourself out there, Rod, and what you
Hmm.
like to do with marketing at your previous company, and just see where it goes. And so I'm just not doing stuff without being intentional. And so but I'm also not going to be dumb and just quit.
Right.
Let me be, you know, I'm not going about to just quit. I got bills, I got a child, you know, I got things to do.
Right. You
So
got
we got
responsibilities. Right.
responsibility. So I'm trying to be intentional with every move, and use my job as a development opportunity, as an opportunity to grow, and then prepare for where I'm going.
Okay, now you use the word comfortable. I think a lot of people get comfortable in those type of positions, right? But they still yearn for more. So, like, as you're navigating that gray area and you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
transition to being more, you know, involved in the thing you really care about, even like jumping on this live with me, like I sent out the request, you were like, let's do it because you've been being pushed
Mm-hmm.
anyway. My question to you for, everybody watching is, how do you fight against that comfortability feeling? Because the other side of this is a little bit more uncomfortable, right? As you prepare and you want to take that leap, like you said, you're being wise about it. You're not just going to jump out there in the middle of the street, right? You're going to map it out and plan it out and think it out. But at some point, it still has to be a faith journey because you can't see all of the steps in the path to get you where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you navigating that piece where you're like, you know what? Rod asked me to get on this live. I know I need to be doing this thing. I need to build my own personal brand a little bit more outside of corporate.
Mm-hmm.
How are you navigating that question?
I mean, it's a process. I can say I definitely have been guilty of getting in my own way, you know,
Mm,
and being that person that's like, you see all the work that you need to do to get there, and it could be overwhelming, or you feel like there's a million steps and um all the things. So you kind of resort back to that comfort zone, or you make that excuse, or you get busy doing a bunch of stuff that you're not supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like
hmm
busy doing nothing, right? And so for
hmm
me, I've been navigating it by, well, trying to say no to more things, trying to put a little bit more time, you know, in my own self. Um,
Even
really,
writing that article was
that
a
was
part of that.
a step.
Like,
Saying yes to this was a step. Like literally, the only way through is through. That's all I'm gonna say.
mm,
And the only way through is through. And so I'm not perfect at it, but I'm like, Paige, just put an hour in here. Okay. Put, you know, just start working on that website. You know, start just the little things for me. Everybody operates differently, but the more I do something, I get excited, you know. And I will
yeah.
say, because I gotta bring this into it, the number one thing for me is like when I'm centered with God, I'm good.
Mm,
Like I'm good.
okay.
So recently, like just realigning with God and like getting in my word and spending some time in the mornings and just like praying, like God, like everything, order my steps and like what I'm doing. I don't mean to take it there,
Mm.
but that's
No,
the truth.
you should mean to take
Like,
it there.
but that has, if I'm being honest, in the last week, I've been like really trying to be intentional and
Mm,
just talking to God. And you reached out to me about this live. I have a podcast set up tomorrow. I have 4 people reach out to me on LinkedIn. I haven't even advertised anything about personal
mm,
branding, all because
mm.
I said yes to God. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? In those conversations. And so I say all that to say is like, as you say yes and go through it and just take us, you know, step by step, doors are going to open. I'm not going to answer your question and say I got it figured out. I'm saying yes, and I'm just trying to do one thing at a time and navigate that space.
To me, that's all you can do. And that's why I asked that question on this live. I think a lot of people get caught up in wanting to have it all figured
Me.
out. They want to know the
Yeah.
whole plan. They want to have the business plan and they mapped out their strategies. And
Yeah.
sometimes that will literally keep you from doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
is no set way of going about business and marketing and positioning your personal brand. It's up to the individual,
Yeah.
right? So, speaking to you directly, Paige, like I feel like you already have everything that it
Oh,
takes.
yeah.
You've
I'm the
already been
sauce.
in,
I'm the sauce.
right,
I know it.
right.
See, you got to
Oh,
be able to
okay.
talk about it. You got to be
But
able to
hold
talk
up.
about it. I know.
So hold up now think about it like this, right? Now you are talking about it, and that's good, right? You got that piece. So what's holding you you back?
Me,
Right? And that's a rhetorical question, right?
me.
Because a lot of people don't even have everything that you have. They're
Yeah,
not working in a position where it lines up with their purpose. They're not already with 10, 15 years of experience with PR, with, all of the things that line up to this thing that they care about. They're working at UPS or FedEx
yeah,
and they really want to be a rap star.
yeah,
They're working over here in corporate America when they really want to be, helping people in the ministry. Like it's a lot of different things that other people are dealing with where they don't have the luxury that you
yeah,
have, yet and still you're in a position where you're starting to like develop your wings and
yeah.
be okay with getting uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my thing for anybody listening as it relates to your personal brand. If this is something that you say you really want to do,
Mm-hmm.
if this is something that you feel God has led you to do and gifted you with talents and skills to really bless other people, because that's what it's really about at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you gaining riches and you becoming super popular and an influencer and having all the freedoms of the world. That's a portion of what you get by being selfless.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more so about who you can give something to with the skills and the uniqueness that you were made with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to that place where you really know what that is, like you do,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the skill set and the background and the network and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
what's holding you back?
And I'll let everybody answer that for themselves. But because
I'm talking
it's
to
a deep
you.
question. But that's a deep question. But I know what it is for me. I think at the end of the day, you can have all the resources in the world, but if you're not good mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and
Mm,
mentally, it does not matter. It does not matter. And that's why that first step of self-discovery and figuring out who you are and all of that and sitting in that is important because you're right. Like I do have, or I'm whether I have the resources in my house and the equipment, whether I have the experience that, you know what I mean, whether I'm connected to individuals that can help put me in a room or the source, if I'm not the person to do it, it's not going to
mm,
happen. And so
yeah.
going through that, that journey and figuring that out and really spending that time with yourself and making those mistakes, I think is the biggest, most important foundational piece of figuring out your brand. Um,
Mm,
so that's the stage that I have been in. And I think a lot of things recently for real have been exposed. And all I'm gonna say is just watch, Rod. I'm gonna just say just watch what you
okay.
about to see because I feel like
Okay.
when you go through a breakthrough season, that is when
Uh-huh.
you get uncomfortable when a breakthrough is
Mm,
coming. And I feel like that's that season that I'm in. So, catch these
I
gems
love it.
and
I
then come,
love it.
come follow, come join the journey. And I just put myself out there. So I got some accountability partners on the call, whoever watched
Yeah.
this. But
Real
even seeing yours,
quick, Paige, I want
yeah,
to address some stuff in the
yeah,
chat, right? Because I asked that question
oh yeah,
and people start answering. So
yeah.
fostering champion said fear is holding him back
Mm-hmm,
or her back.
mm-hmm,
Failure for just fun, comfortable, judgment,
mm-hmm,
money, experience. Like these are real things that people are
yeah,
thinking about and
yeah,
living with that's causing them to stand back. Like I have this video that I reposted of this lady getting ready to do like a parachute jump off of a Grand Canyon or something.
mm-hmm,
And she had an instructor like connected to her back, and she's on the edge, but he's not gonna jump until she's ready. So he's like, "Are you ready?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm so scared." Right? And he's like, "Are you ready?" And she's like, "No, not yet." And they went through this for like 40
mm-hmm,
seconds. And finally she said, "Okay." And he jumped and she screamed. And the parachute comes out and she's like exhilarated and enjoying it, right? But without her saying okay,
mm-hmm,
she would have never got off that ledge. Yes, she was afraid. Of course. Yes, the parachute can fail. Yes, it's a million things that could go on.
mm-hmm,
But at the end of the day, she decided that she wanted to do it and she got past all of that fear and did it anyway.
mm-hmm,
So here's the thing, failing is actually not a bad thing. It's actually going to help strengthen you and put you in a position where you know what not to do. Fear is self-made. It's all in your mind. Most of the stuff that we fear is like, I don't know, I'm scared. It's in our head. So
mm-hmm,
get past that and see what's on the other side before you decide to be
mm-hmm,
afraid of it. And then comfortable. You cannot grow without um, being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has ever made it to somewhere that they want to go that's great by being comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. Matter of fact, you have to go through the uncomfortability to get to a place where you can actually be comfortable, which is what all we're chasing anyway,
Come on.
right? So just the sooner you go through it, the sooner you get to it.
Exactly.
And then lastly, I'll address judgment, money, and experience. People gonna judge you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
What
avoid
are
it.
they
So
gonna say? How are they gonna feel? What if I put myself out there? It's like, are they paying your bills?
right.
Like, are they? And
And
it, that's
no,
another one.
yeah. So don't worry about the judgment piece because they're gonna do that anyway.
Right.
And there's a lane for everybody. Everybody has something unique about themselves. So tap into it.
Mm-hmm.
Money, this one is very simple. If I try to sell you a pen, matter of fact, if I try to sell you these sunglasses for $50,000, Paige, would you buy them?
It's a no, right?
They're really nice though, okay? It's a
It
really
ain't.
high quality. They block the sun with
It's not gonna work,
UV and
right?
blue.
It's not gonna
Okay,
work.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, let's say that and I will never do this. I want to put that disclaimer out there. Let's say that I kidnap your daughter and I say it's gonna take $50,000 to get her back.
Whoa, why you go there? Hold on.
If you have $50,000 or not, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna get it.
You're gonna get that fifty
We're
thousand
gonna
dollars
figure
to
this out.
figure something out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Why?
Tomorrow.
Why?
Today.
But why?
Because that's important
Because
to me.
that's your baby. It's
Yeah.
important to you. It's something that you care deeply about.
Yeah.
So if this thing is something that you care about so much and you really want to do it and it's passion and God has told you to do it, how is money an excuse?
Yeah. And
You'll figure it out.
to add to that, one of the biggest advice that I was told a while ago and it still sticks in my head today, it's like whatever you were called to do, whatever that purpose is, if you just get close to that and do it, it might not be tied to money all the time, whatever, but purpose, the money, once you start walking in it, it's gonna come. The doors are
Hmm.
gonna open in it. And yeah, I was kind of conflicted between, okay, I got two things I really want to focus on right now. Like, which direction do I go? One brings money, one's passion and purpose driven. And my friend was like, girl, go with the purpose. Like,
Yeah.
purpose, purpose, purpose. And when you go through the purpose, I promise you the doors are going to open for the other things. And so I'm putting that out there for anyone else, because that really hit home for me. It's like, I'm not the biggest money motivated person. I love money, I love, where the
Hmm.
things that it can do. But I've been around people who have a lot of money and are miserable. And so I know it's not the end all be all.
Yeah.
So I know that I want to do something that makes an impact and is bigger. I have to go where purpose is. So
Yeah, and the money
follow
will come.
the
It's a
purpose.
money is a byproduct of you doing what it is you were called to do.
Yeah.
That's just all it is to it. And it's a tool just to get you to be able to do it more and for more people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you 1,000%. Choose purpose and passion all day. I know people who make a lot of money doing stuff, and it's not that they're unhappy, but they're unfulfilled and they're still looking for the
Mhm.
next thing that they should be doing because they're not tied to the thing that they should be doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So man, this has been an
Listen
amazing
here.
conversation. I think that is needed
Mhm.
today. There's more conversations like this that are needed. And Paige, I appreciate you being willing to jump in
Yeah.
and talk about these things.
Yeah.
There are obviously more branding gems that you got and stuff that you want to, provide
Yeah.
for people. So tell people how they can follow you and how they can connect with you for the various things that you offer.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I would just say right now, stay connected with me if you're not on Instagram. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Paige Elliott, and DM me anything, any questions or anything. But just stay tuned and just really connect with me right now because I'm working on some services that I can be able to offer. Revamping it. I kind of took a pause with some services, so revamping it, trying to scale. But I'm always dropping gems and everything on my story or on my
Always.
page, or you're gonna catch something. If you're not gonna catch a gem, you're gonna get empowered, you're gonna be inspired. It's gonna be something because I really feel like the people said in the comments today, it's like fear, life is life in a lot, and sometimes we
Hmm.
get in our own way. So I just like to encourage people and remind them, to be the best version of themselves. So stay connected on these social platforms and just see.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Paige, since connecting with you at that
Yeah.
corporate event and staying connected socially, I can without a doubt say you have definitely been a gem dropper. Um, Not just with personal branding, but with
Yeah.
life, right? With various things that you have experience on. So I appreciate you for that. For those of you who I don't know who decided to join this live, I'm making a vow to go live with somebody new every week,
Yeah.
especially for the month of March. So next week, I'm going to be announcing it. We're going to be talking about business and how it is to run a business and what it means in today's time with
Mm.
all the influx of inflation and what we got going on politically in this world. I mean, it's so many different things that are happening. So make sure you tune in. I just want to continue to bless people and give them something that they can grow from because we all need some help.
Yeah.
And thank God we had Paige on here today to help you guys with some branding gems. So
Thank you.
until then, y'all reach out to us, connect with us, DM us. It's not about an offer. It's not about, selling anything. I told Paige before we got on here, I'm not interested in positioning this so that I can gain something, right? My goal in this conversation is for us to give the people something.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Hopefully you caught something. Hopefully you got inspired, and whatever it is burning inside of you, like you want to take that step forward. So
all
personal
right.
branding, let's get it.
Yes, ma'am. All
Thank you,
right. Y'all
Rod.
stay tuned. Thank y'all.
Yep.
No problem, Paige. Appreciate you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.